Hello and welcome to Mickeyology, where we take Disney a little too seriously. I'm Austin Rathall, and today we're examining Disney's Peter Pan. Author J.M. Barrie wrote Peter Pan as a play before turning it into a novel, which countless storytellers later adapted for other media. Disney alone created both animated and live-action film versions of the story, as well as an animated sequel, a series of spin-off films starring Tinkerbell, and a spin-off TV series called Jake and the Neverland Pirates. With so many different Peter Pan projects under its belt, Disney's version of the story is probably the one that many people know best. But how faithful was Disney to the original story? Let's find out by comparing the Disney films with the book that inspired them. Disney's two Peter Pan films are both similar to the novel. Each version features the same cast of characters, except for the darling servant Liza, who's not in either of the films. Each version also features the same basic plot. The three darling children live in London with their parents and their canine nurse, Nana. One night, when Mr. and Mrs. Darling go out for the evening, Peter Pan swoops through the nursery window in search of his shadow. After finding it, he and his companion, Tinkerbell, help the children fly off to Neverland. There, the Darlings encounter Peter's band of lost boys, and a pirate crew led by the dastardly Captain Hook. Hook is Peter's mortal enemy and is angry at Peter for cutting off his arm and feeding it to a crocodile. Lucky for Hook, the croc also swallowed a ticking clock, so Hook can always hear the beast approaching. The Darlings go with Peter to Skull Rock, where Peter rescues the Indian princess Tiger Lily from Hook. The Darlings become like family to the Lost Boys, with Wendy becoming mother to them all. After a while, though, Wendy and her brothers decide to leave Peter behind and return to London. Before they can leave, however, the pirates capture the children and take them aboard their ship. Luckily, Peter and Tinkerbell come to the rescue. The kids battle the pirates, and Peter duels Captain Hook, who winds up falling overboard. Victorious, the children set sail for London, where Wendy and her brothers fly back through their nursery window and reunite with their parents. The Disney films both feature smaller nods to the book too. For example, in the animated film, Captain Hook smokes a double cigar holder and, despite his missing hand, plays the harpsichord. Now, these might seem like ideas that cartoonists would invent, but Disney took both these elements from the novel. In the live-action version, Peter says,
"For to die would be an
awfully big adventure."
A line taken almost verbatim from the book. In the book, we learned that as a boy, Hook attended a school where the teachers stressed good form above all else. Hook became obsessed with having good form ever since, which explains why Jude Law's Hook cries, "My form!" In the novel's last chapter, Wendy grows up, raising a daughter named Jane in the same nursery that she occupied as a child. Jane later ends up visiting Neverland herself and befriending Peter Pan. Disney used this epilogue as the premise of their sequel, Return to Neverland. The book also says that Jane also has a daughter named Margaret, who also visits Neverland eventually. Peter Pan 3, anyone? There are plenty of differences between the Disney films and the novel too. The animated film is much more faithful to the book than the live action, but even the animated film makes some big departures from the original, especially in its portrayal of Mr. Darling. In the book, Mr. Darling is fussy and insecure, but in the movie he's positively unhinged. The animated film cuts an instant in which Mr. Darling forces Nana to drink medicine and replaces it with an elaborate sequence that has Mr. Darling screaming, stomping, and slipping around the nursery like a madman. Meanwhile, the live-action version barely features Mr. Darling at all, which is a shameful waste of Alan Tudyk's talent, by the way.
I went to Juilliard.
This version also has Wendy preparing to go away to boarding school. Like the literary version, the animated Tinkerbell is jealous of Wendy and tries to get the Lost Boys to kill her. Disney takes this jealousy even further, having the animated Tink give Hook the location of Peter's hideout just to get rid of Wendy. The live-action version tames Tinkerbell, making her Wendy's tiny winged bestie. As in the book, the animated film has the Darlings meet an all-male crew of Lost Boys and a group of mermaids before they rescue Tiger Lily from Skull Rock. However, the live-action version has Wendy meet a mixed-gender group of Lost Boys.
Lost Boys!
Every last one of us.
But you're not all boys.
So? But I guess it doesn't really matter.
And in this version, it's John and Michael that end up chained to Skull Rock, and Tiger Lily helps rescue them. In the novel, Hook wounds Peter so that he can't fly after their battle at Skull Rock, and Peter and Wendy get stranded on the rock, but escape with the help of a passing kite and a friendly bird. Disney didn't put this part into their films. In the live-action film, the boys live in an abandoned castle, unlike the underground home featured in the book and the animated film. It's here that Wendy learns that Hook was once a lost boy himself, and that his falling out with Peter led Hook to a life of piracy. This plotline is a Disney invention. While the live action adds a backstory for Hook, the animated version adds an infamous scene at the Indian camp. While J.M. Barrie wasn't exactly sensitive in his portrayal of Native Americans, he also didn't feature them in the story that much. He wrote about half a page describing how grateful the Indians are to Peter for rescuing Tiger Lily, and Disney turned this half a page into an entire musical number filled with absolutely nothing but Native American stereotypes. In the book, Captain Hook finds the Lost Boy's house and slips poison into some medicine Wendy left for Peter. Tinkerbell tells Peter not to drink it, but when he doesn't listen, she drinks it herself. She nearly dies only to be saved when Peter asks the children of the world to believe in fairies and clap their hands to prove it. Although this moment seems tailor-made for a Disney film, Disney cut it out of both their adaptations. The animated film has Peter receive a bomb rather than poison, and it doesn't explain how Tink survives the explosion. The live-action version gives this near-death experience to Peter, with Hook wounding him before Tiger Lily revives him with healing herbs. I've never seen the climactic battle adapted the same way twice, so I always wondered what the original climax in the book was like and whether there was something about it that filmmakers always felt compelled to change. Well, it turns out the original climax is quite simple. Peter faces Hook aboard the ship, they duel, and Hook loses before throwing himself overboard into the crocodile's maw. The one thing Disney softened about the ending, though, was Peter's violence. While Disney's Peter Pan never draws blood from his opponents, Barrie has Peter hide inside Hook's cabin and murder several pirates who come into the darkened room to investigate. During the final duel, Peter doesn't promise not to fly or try to save Hook from falling. Instead, he flits around Hook, cutting and stabbing the captain until Hook surrenders to death. Both Disney versions show the children return to London to find that hardly any time has passed, but in the book, the Darlings wait a long time for their children to return. When they do return, they bring the Lost Boys with them, and the Darlings adopt them all. This is one point on which the live-action film is faithful to the book, but the animated film is unfaithful, having the boys stay with Peter rather than grow up with the Darlings. If you're debating whether to read Peter Pan yourself, I highly recommend that you do. You've probably seen many adaptations and reimaginings of the story already, but that's part of what makes reading the book so interesting, I think. Reading it allows you to see which aspects of the story that different creators chose to emphasize, and I think you'll find yourself realizing that certain moments in your favorite adaptations are actually callbacks to the original. Plus, it's just a fun and witty read. Like Hogwarts or Narnia, Neverland is a world that's both whimsical and dangerous, and the children who live there are friendly but wild. And that combination of fun and danger creates an impression of childhood that feels really authentic, and maybe that's what's made the story endure for so long. So there you have it. That is how J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan compares to the two Disney films. Please let me know in the comments if you've read Peter Pan before, and if so, what is your favorite version of the story? Also, let me know which Disney movie you would like me to compare with its source material next. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss another video and our channel has a chance to grow. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.